And recording is in progress. Good afternoon, everybody. We are just giving folks a little bit of time to join. The number on my participants tab has changed at the bottom. In the meantime, my name is Danielle Mitchell Damron, and I'm the Director of Special Projects at Emory, and I oversee parent and family programs. Um, and today we are going to have the second part of our housing conversation with the amazing Nikki Laird, who will introduce herself and share her title in a moment. Just a reminder, please put all of your questions in the Q&A section on the tab at the bottom of your screen. And I will be collecting and compiling those questions as Nikki presents. And then at the end of the session, I will ask her your questions. We're just going to give everybody, Nikki, do you want to give everybody maybe 3 more minutes to kind of get in? It looks like we're populating quite a bit at the bottom. So we have 25 participants right now. Also, the session is being recorded, so you can watch it over and over again and follow up with any questions you have with either myself or Residence Life. Well, Nick, oh, we just ticked up again. Hold on. 2 more minutes. Nikki, I'm going to let you go ahead and get started. I think we've got everybody who's planning to join at this point, and others can just join as time allows.
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Nikki Laird. I am the Director of Housing Occupancy and Assignments in the Housing Operations Department here at Emory University. So normally I am helping your students get their assignments on campus, but this presentation is something that we are actually going to be doing for students on campus as well. And that's hunting for off-campus housing. So we'll go ahead and get started. So we're kind of be talking about four different things today related to searching for off-campus housing. One, how to sort of identify what your options are. Two, really good questions to ask a landlord to make sure you're getting into a good situation. Three, how to really understand the costs and the questions to ask around that. And then four, dare to compare. I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't also talk about our on-campus apartments and how they compare to things off campus. So first up, identifying your options. We do have an off-campus housing website that's sponsored by Emory. It is anyone who reaches out to us and wants to place an ad there can. So the options there range from a professor who has a carriage house that they rent out to students all the way to large luxury apartment complexes here in the Atlanta area. So that's one place to start, just to kind of get an idea of what's out there. I definitely recommend taking a physical trip to kind of identify what is available. So, and you should take that trip in whatever way you are going to be commuting to and from campus. If you decide to live off campus. So if you are going to be taking public transportation or Emory shuttles, I recommend hopping on the Emory shuttle and taking a ride, and seeing what apartment complexes are along that route, and see how far you're willing to ride, and see how far, see where the stops are, so and think about what it would be like to be in the cold or on a rainy day waiting for the bus, to at that spot. Or, if your student has a vehicle, they're going to be driving to and from campus, take a friend, take pictures of all the signs of all the apartment complexes that are along whatever route, within the, circumference of campus that they're willing to drive in the morning to come to class, and just sort of identify options that way. If they're going to be walking, same thing. Take whatever version of transportation they're planning to take, to help identify those options. Also, talking to your friends, word of mouth, is a great way. So talk to folks who are in your student organizations, about their experiences off campus, because they've lived there probably for 7 or 8 months now at this point, maybe more than a year, if they're a senior, and they will have great information about whether it was a good or not so good experience to live in that place. We do have some broker, options here in Atlanta, that students can use. I recommend that they approach those with caution. Those places do, they get paid by the, um, folks who advertise with them. So they're going to be interested in you renting with someone who advertises with them. And if there's a place that you're more interested in that's not advertising with them, they may not be as open to helping you with that. But they do, they can tell you what's in a certain area. They can tell you, they can set up your appointments for you. So if your student is really busy or just doesn't like to do tasks like that, a broker may be an option. Um, and then also visiting open houses. Some of the places will have open houses, and we will have 2 open houses for our on campus apartments next weekend. So I'll talk a little bit about that as well. Next up, talking to your future landlord. So there are a lot of questions. Let me go back a slide. There we go. Thank you. So there are a lot of questions that it's very important to ask, when you're talking to a future landlord. So once you've set up that time to go look at an apartment, you want to know, when is rent due and how do I pay it? So some places, you're going to pay, they want, you pay within the first 5 days, and they have an online system that's very easy. Some places you may be paying by check or things like that. So you want to talk to them about that. What is the lease length? Sometimes the lease length will be 11 months, sometimes it'll be 13 months, sometimes the price changes with that. And what are the other terms of the lease? You will definitely want to read that carefully. You'll want to know, whose names are on the lease. So do we have to have everybody in our group whose name is on the lease? Is everybody leasing individually? Are we leasing as a group? What are the penalties if I need to break my lease? And what are the penalties? How does that work if only one person? So if we're got a group of 4 renting a 4-bedroom apartment off campus, and one of us needs to break the lease, what is that going to look like? How is the apartment complex going to handle that? What is the guest policy? Where can guests park? Those are really good things to talk about. Have there been any recent car or apartment break-ins? And do you have a security officer? So some complexes give housing to a local police officer so that they have a security officer on site overnight. Um, how are mail and packages delivered? It's sometimes they're going to be delivered right to your door. Sometimes they may be dropped off at the apartment, you know, complex clubhouse, and that's only open certain days. Some places have package lockers that are off site that you have to pick up. So understanding that, I know our students like to order a lot of packages. I like to order a lot of packages, so I want to make sure that it's going to be convenient for me to receive those. What amenities are available? Is there a pool? Are there fitness facilities? Can you use the clubhouse to have meetings or study on the weekends? Those kinds of things. What are the laundry options? Are they in unit or not in unit? Is there emergency maintenance service, and what counts as an emergency? So I learned in my apartment complex, the emergency temperature for your air conditioner being out is 77 degrees. That is very warm in Atlanta. So I'm not super happy with that. But so they'll definitely want to ask those kinds of questions before they move in. What happens if I lock myself out of my apartment? Do I need to call a locksmith for myself, or is emergency maintenance? Can they come and let me in? And then you'll also want to identify other non-negotiables before you visit. For me, I really wanted an ice maker and a dishwasher. That's what I really cared about. Your students maybe really want to have a pet, or something like that. And so those are the questions you need to identify beforehand and make sure that you're asking when you get there. So understanding the costs, what is the monthly rent? When you go online to look at an apartment, you will see the base monthly rent. And again, it may change with the length of the lease. So maybe a 12-month lease will get you one rent, and you'll get a couple $100s off if you sign a 13-month lease. And does that work for you, right? So you have to determine that. How is the rent billed? Some apartment complexes near Emory are very focused on student populations, and so they bill per person. And some are, more meant for the public, and so they're going to bill per apartment. And you'll want to make sure you understand how you're going to divide that, how you're going to be able to pay that, and those kinds of things. Is there a deposit, and is it refundable? Some apartment complexes will charge a security deposit, and if your apartment is still nice and clean and undamaged when you move out, it's refundable. Some charge an admin fee, and so it's not refundable. Um, are utilities included? And what is the average cost of utilities for a unit of this size? Um, your apartment complex absolutely should be able to provide this information to you. A lot of units in Atlanta require electricity and natural gas, as well as water, sewer, and trash. So you'll want to know for sure which of those are required, if any, or if some of them are included in the rent or not. Most students will also need fiber Wi-Fi or cable and internet service in order to have internet to study, take online classes when it snows, things like that. So, knowing how much that will cost for that area, or if it's also included. Some places do include it. Is renter's insurance required, and is there a required provider? So, many apartment complexes do require renter's insurance, and even if it's not required, is definitely recommended if something were to happen. Is there a parking fee? Some complexes will not charge parking for one area, but they will charge parking for a nicer area that might be way more convenient to where your apartment is. And you also want to consider, if you're going to be commuting to campus with a vehicle, that you're including the Emory parking fee in there as well. And then what other fees are not included in rent? So you would be surprised how much gets added on top of rent. So sometimes there are administration fees for using their online payment system that they require you to use. Sometimes there are amenity fees for, keeping the pool clean. There you might have valet trash, which is very nice because somebody's going to pick your trash up from outside your door, but you can't opt out of that, so you still have to pay for that service. Um, if there's a package locker service, they may charge you for that. My apartment charges me for community electricity, so they take a portion of what it takes to light the entire complex and charge it to everyone. So definitely ask these questions because it can add a couple of $100 onto your rent. On top of that. So hopefully some of that is utilities included. But yes, it can definitely add up. And then like I said, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't talk about our on-campus apartments at the Claremont campus. So we do house 45 to 50% of the third and fourth year classes. Sometimes people don't really realize that we can house that many students. They think it's almost impossible to get an apartment at Claremont, and that is not true. Again, a good number of our third and fourth year students live on campus. And our rent is billed per student per semester. So if you go on our website and want to compare us to off campus monthly rent, you can just take our semester cost and divide it by 4.5 per person. All utilities are included on campus, so that includes gas, electric, water, sewer, trash, recycling, Wi-Fi, and cable TV. And we do have on-campus 24/7 emergency services. So we have our RAs and our service centers to provide lockout service 24/7. Emory Police provides 24/7 security. Emergency maintenance is available around the clock, and we can provide temporary rooms if there's a serious issue. And then if you have any changes that you need to make, so we also have convenient parking and transportation. So residential students usually can park in a garage that's attached to their building for most of the Claremont campus. And there's convenient shuttle buses that run between Claremont and Atlanta campus. They are so quick. They are basically lined up at busy times a day. So there's 3 or 4 in a row waiting to take you to the Atlanta campus. Room changes are available during certain periods each semester. So if you live off campus and you get in a fight with your roommate, you might be stuck with them. If you live on campus, we can help you find another place to live. And students who have to leave the university are released from their housing agreement without penalty. So that might include study abroad, medical leave, needing to take a leave of absence or a semester off. If you need to do any of those unexpectedly, you are not held to your lease at the Claremont campus. You would be released from that. So yeah, so that is our presentation for off-campus housing, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. Again, I also do want to say we will be presenting this on Sunday at Claremont in the for students in the penthouse at the Claremont Tower. Anybody, any student is welcome to come to that event. And we also, if you check out housing.emory.edu and scroll about halfway down, you'll see a button that says community outreach, and that will give you all the times that we are doing presentations on housing selection, our open houses, and all of those things are listed there, including this session on Sunday, so you can direct your students there.
Nikki, what time is the session on Sunday?
That session on Sunday is at 1 p.m.
1 p.m. and it's at the
Excuse me,
Claremont
1:30. 1:30.
1:30 at the
Yes.
Claremont campus.
Yes.
Okay. So are you some of the questions, thank you for your presentation. We're starting to get questions in. The first question is around what percentage of students who apply for housing as juniors and seniors end up receiving a housing offer? So you said you 45 to 50% of the upperclassmen, is there anybody who does get turned down for housing?
So we will most likely, most years, we do have a wait list at the end of selection, which would be, March 6th is the end of our selection period for apartments this year. That tends to melt away. So
Okay.
either because
When you say melt away, you mean that those students are told yes, they can come on,
those,
or
or they find off-campus
find,
housing. So
okay.
one thing that happens, and so I'll say, if you end up on the wait list and you really want to live on campus, just be patient, because if you really want to live on campus, we're going to find a way to get you on campus. We have a lot of students who right now are planning to go abroad. They're 95% sure they're going to go abroad, but they haven't gotten all of their paperwork 100% done yet. Their visa hasn't come back from the country that they're planning to travel to. And so they're like, I'm gonna get an apartment with my friends just in case. Um, and those positions will start to open up, and we start to see that movement. So we don't see that movement right away in March. We don't see it until late April and May. So that's when we start to see people who have said, yes, I want an apartment. Now they're dropping out of that apartment. Um, we see people who got an apartment, but they found something off campus, and they want to change their mind. So I will say, if you apply for housing and you don't get it, or if you log in and there's nothing that you're interested in, I definitely caution students to leave themselves on the wait list unless they really want to live on campus, or they know they have to live on campus for scholarship purposes or something like that. If you pick a room, you're in your housing agreement. We're going to hold you to at least a cancellation fee, and we may hold you to um, that agreement. The more people we have on our wait list, when you decide that you want to live off campus, the more likely it is that we'll let you out. But we do, and it's in the housing agreement that students sign. So number one, I would strongly recommend that they read that when they do their housing application. Don't do like we all do for, iTunes and Apple, Care and all that kind of stuff. We just check the box and don't read it. Please read it. But it says in there, like, please don't sign a lease somewhere else until you've been released from this contract. So we caution students about that. There may be a cancellation fee, depending on the time of year when they cancel. So, once, but they're not held to any of that if they don't select a room. Once they select a room, then they're held to that. So,
So we got a few questions just about the event on Sunday. So it's
mhm.
1:30 on the Claremont campus, and that information can be found on the housing website for students who want to attend, and they can take the shuttle over or walk over to Claremont, and that's one of that's the housing option if they are a upperclassman who is looking for housing.
Yes.
We got a question about parking in terms of what are the parking options. Emory does have a large parking office that sort of manages camp parking for everyone on campus. And that office, if I'm not mistaken, is still at Claremont. Um,
Yes.
and so students can go there and just share what their needs are and find out what the options are for parking on a day-to-day basis. Another question we got was about whether or not the apartments are furnished. So I'll let you speak to that.
Yes. So on campus, our apartments are furnished. They're all furnished. Off campus, it depends on where you go. And some may have furnished and unfurnished options. So that is definitely another great question. In fact, I'm going to add that to my slide for Sunday, to ask that question of your landlord: are they furnished or are they not furnished? Thank you for that question.
Um, Application deadline for on-campus housing. Can you remind us when that is, Nikki?
Yes, the priority deadline for on-campus housing is next Wednesday, by
Okay.
11:59 p.m. And then they will get their lottery number on the 28th, and via their My Housing portal, and we'll send them an email reminder. And then that lottery number will give them a time to select on either March 4th or March 6th. We're taking the 5th off for Ash Wednesday.
Okay. So the My Housing portal will have the application
That's
and
correct.
okay, and that's where they will get pinged when they have when they get alerted to their selection time.
That's correct. And that's where
Okay.
they'll go to make their selection, and they will select their exact apartment. So,
Okay.
and they can, whoever in their roommate group has the highest or the
The
earliest
first.
time,
Hmm.
they can select for all the people in the apartment. So if they have two, three, four people in their apartment, that person can make that selection for them.
Okay. What are the other housing options besides Claremont on campus for third
Sure.
and fourth year students?
Yes. So some third and fourth year students still want to live on the Atlanta campus. There are a few options for that mostly in our theme housing and on Eagle Row. So we have our Emery Casa, which is our Portuguese and Spanish language house. We have Bait House, which is our Jewish lifestyle house. We have our BSA,
Hmm.
Black Student Association house at Eagle Road 22. And then we have Eagle Road 20. It is in transition this year. It was previously our MLAU Media Liberal Arts Outreach House. It is transitioning to a purposeful living house. So students would take a course on purposeful living and experience that and be able to live together. But because we're in this transition year, students who previously lived in the MLAM house are allowed to stay. Students who are in the purposeful living house will be there. And because that group is so new, we don't anticipate it will fill the house. And so we'll likely have transfer students and other third and fourth year students who still want to live in that house. So it would not be a full apartment. It would be a residence hall room within a small house that houses about 48 to 50. But yes, those are the options. As well as if they want to live, if they're a member of fraternity or sorority and their fraternity or sorority has room for them in the house, they also can live there.
Great, thank you. So if four students have are want to live on campus in a four-bed, each of them needs to complete a housing application, but the person who has the earliest selection time can go through and do the selection. So all four are doing applications, but the
Yeah,
earliest person is who has the selection time is the one who can say, we're taking, the four of us are taking this apartment, and then there's nothing else that needs to be done, correct?
that's correct. So all four need to fill out an application, and all four of them need to match with each other and say, yes, I want to be roommates with each other. And then that gives the person with the earliest time permission to place them into the apartment.
Awesome, great question. If the student receives financial aid, does it cover both on-campus and off-campus options? I'm thinking this is a question for the financial aid office, but I'm going to defer to you.
Yes, I can give a general answer, and
Okay.
that is you should check with financial aid. So some students have what is called refundable aid, and that aid can be written out to them in a check if they don't use for whatever they don't use on campus, and that can also be used for off-campus housing. Um, Non-refundable aid cannot be used for off-campus housing, and so they will need to live on campus to take full advantage of that aid. So they definitely need to check with their it just kind of depends on the individual. Sometimes you can use your aid for off-campus housing and sometimes you can't.
So, thank you for that. So another question is, where is the Purposeful Living House located?
It will be at Eagle Road 20. So
Okay,
it is just across from the Peavine Garage if you're familiar with campus.
great. Is there a difference between a single room and a super single room?
Yes. So a single room is You just have the room to yourself. There's one bed in there. It's a room that's only meant for one person. A super single is a room that's meant for two people. It will have two beds. We will not remove the second bed, but your student would have that room to themselves as a single.
Awesome. I had a super single as a first year student, and it was great. Got a lot of
Yeah, you
studying
can
done.
you can make a king size bed out of the two beds. You can make a couch out of one of the beds, but we are not going to take it out of your room. Sorry.
Awesome. If a student has secured on-campus housing, is board or meal swipes included? I think that I believe that the meal plan program is separate from housing. Am I correct?
The meal plan program is separate from housing. They do select it through their My Housing portal. After your first year, you can do if you live on campus, you're required to have one, but you can do the lowest one, which is like the $500, I think. That is just, it's not swipes at the dining hall. You can just, you just get like $500, and I think it's called Eagle dollars, and you can use it. You can use it at the food trucks. You can use it when Cox
Mm-hmm.
Hall reopens, and you can use it at the dining hall. You just pay the cash price with that. You can use it at Eagle Emporium. You can use it at the SAC, which is where most, and you actually can use meal swipes at the SAC as well, which is where most of the Claremont, which is the dining facility that's on the Claremont campus. It's like it's got a little grill, a little store, but it's a very small area because we expect most folks are going to cook when they have the full kitchen.
Next question, is Emory housing semester based, and the student needs to move out during the summer like before? And I want to add to that question, do you have any recommendations about summer storage for students?
Sure. So, the apartments, yes, it is semester based. If your student is taking a summer class, or they do the Emory SAHIP program, which is our summer intern housing program. So if your student is taking a class here or doing an internship here, they might be able to remain in their apartment over the summer. It really depends from year to year, whether we're doing a construction project in that building or not. But for the most part, we do try to keep students in their same apartment if they, especially, um, if they're living there now, they're going to be doing summer classes and they are going to live there in the fall again. So that is also a benefit. If they live on campus, they can do same room selection. They like their apartment. They can do same room selection and stay there for the second year. So they don't have to, if they take summer classes or do summer internship housing, then they won't have to move out. But if they don't do that, then they will have to move out in between in the summer.
Great, thank you. And storage, when should students start looking into that?
So we have a service on campus called Storage Squad that they can get boxes from, and they label their boxes and store and leave them in their room, and Storage Squad comes and picks them up. That is certainly the easiest option to do. And but there are also plenty of storage places. Like if you want to store something larger, like furniture, you would probably need to go that route. There are lots of climate controlled uh, storage options in Atlanta.
Are there facility upgrades planned for the purposeful living themed house?
Not at this time. That facility is in pretty nice shape. It's been an arts house, and so it's been very well taken care of, and um, so I don't anticipate that we'll have a ton of upgrades. We do, projects here and there, flooring, update furniture, things like that. But I believe that building has had updates very recently, so I don't think there's anything planned for this summer.
Is there a size difference? Is the size of the super single bigger than the single? I would guess yes, because the super
Yes.
single can actually house two people if needed.
Yes, that's correct. So it's a super single is just a double room that we have, and so we only offer super singles when we have space to do so, when the demand for housing is not as high. And that tends to happen in the Claremont Tower, not as many people, not people don't want to share a bedroom when they're third and fourth year. And so we have a lot of shared bedrooms in the tower. And so we do convert some of those to super singles.
Can students see themed housing before making a decision on the best type of housing for them? I would imagine that's going to be part of the discussion on Sunday on how to sort of best investigate that.
Yes. So we have had open houses for the theme housing already. So that's been shared out to all of our students. Um, and so most of those are done at this point. There may still be one on the way for BSA. I'm not 100% sure about that. So those that's handled by our partners who work with our academic theme housing. They run those open houses. Uh,
Uh, oh, go
we are
ahead.
also going to have open houses for Claremont, and that is going to be next Saturday and Sunday from noon to 6, and that will appear on our community outreach website later today.
So tomorrow or like a week from
A
tomorrow?
week from tomorrow.
Okay.
So yes, the weekend right before selection happens, we're having open houses.
Okay.
Yeah,
Will Claremont on-campus apartment take two students sharing together in the fall and both studying abroad in the spring? I would think the answer is yes.
absolutely, absolutely.
Is it too late to apply for themed housing since it's after February 14th?
No, it is not too late. You have um till Wednesday to apply for that.
Till Wednesday, till
Yeah.
this Wednesday. Okay. Does Storage Squad deliver to off-campus apartments?
They do. So if you are living on campus now and decide to live off campus in the fall, they will deliver to your off campus apartment.
That's awesome. It's like
Hmm.
movers.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's pretty great.
what are rooms, apartments, and themed housing? What do they look like?
So they look, you can actually, if you go on our website, you can see some pictures of some rooms. They are the houses, the Eagle Row 20, which is the Purposeful Living slash MLAU transitional house right now, and the BSA house are former fraternity houses. But they are, again, they've been redone. They're very nice. They are, I would say, on par. The double rooms, it's mostly double rooms with a few single rooms. The double rooms, I would say, are on par with what they've seen in Harris, Complex, Dobbs, um, Few and Evans. They're double residence hall rooms with bathroom down the hall. So pretty on par with that. It's just a smaller building with a smaller community. So yeah.
And one more time, what is the deadline for the housing application?
The priority deadline is this Wednesday at 11:59 p.m. So that's February 26th. Um, Students who apply after that won't be a part of the selection process, so they'll go on to the wait list, but we do continue to take applications up until August.
Okay,
It just depends on how many people we have on the wait list.
that's great to know. This is all great information. Thanks, Nikki. So it looks like that's the last of our questions. So we're going to wrap a little bit early, but thank you so much, Nikki, for putting this together and doing this and then doing it again on Sunday. I also want to thank Tina Chang, who's our technical advisor, and thank all of the families who have participated with your questions and made this a lively session. Appreciate that so much. We will get this recording onto the appropriate website, which is our website, shortly. And the next session will be focused on commencement. We're going to take a bit of a break in March since spring break is happening. So the recording for this webinar will be on family.emory.edu, and our next session will be preparing for commencement and giving parents of graduating students the opportunity to ask some questions about how to navigate that day. So probably a lot of you won't be there, but you'll be there soon, next year. But in the meantime, thank you so much. And if you have any questions, feel free to email family@emory.edu. And thanks again.
I think we have one more question,
Oh, we
sorry.
do? We have a question? One more
One more
question? Okay.
question.
And we have time, so we love it. Okay. One more. Is there gender neutral bathroom at the end of halls in themed housing like other dorm rooms?
So yes, most of them do, or that's all we have is individual lockable bathrooms on that hallway. So while the hallway's still down the hall, yes. So I would say if your student is interested in a specific house, talk to us about that so that we can be sure that they'll be placed in a space that has that type of bathroom setup. But most of our theme houses do have at least one bathroom like that.
Wonderful. Thanks, Nikki. Thanks for the question too.
No problem.
I think we're all set. So see everybody in April. Nikki, thanks so much. Key deadlines Wednesday at 11:59 p.m. Priority application this Sunday at Claremont at 1:30 p.m. Open house for on-campus housing for third and fourth year students.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.